Well, hey everybody! Thanks for joining us for another episode of the Free to Soar podcast. And got another one of my favorite people today as our guest. His name is Josh Thomson, and he's an investment advisor with Cornerstone Wealth Partners. And I can't wait for you to meet him. Welcome to the podcast, Josh.
Hey, thanks so much, Connie. I'm
Yeah.
very excited to be here with you.
Oh, well, I can't wait to start asking you all the things that I know that we're going to have fun talking, and you and I never have a problem talking about all kinds of things, and it's just been really, really fun getting to know you and understanding, who you are as a person, as a Christian leader, as a business owner. And I just, for our listeners, you guys, I think you're gonna love Josh just as much as I do. He is a gift to this world. And so let's get started. So, Josh, tell us, I'm just going to let you kind of introduce yourself. Like I said, you're an investment advisor, but you're not just like any investment advisor. You are, I actually met with you. You have become my investment advisor. I think you're the best already. It's the most incredible experience I had with an investment advisor. And I want you to share your passion for what you do and explain what sets you apart. And you're welcome in doing that to go ahead and introduce, Cornerstone Wealth Partners and talk about that. But and then share how what you do and how you do it.
Great. Well, I appreciate the question. And, a couple things. What do I do? What sets me apart is those are the triggers, right? Everybody would say, what's your value? Know your value.
That's right.
And with investment advisors, you've got we're people who understand money, understand investments, and how does that apply to individuals? I would make an argument that the investment kind of Wall Street. When you hear Wall Street, what do you think of? I mean, you think of suits, you think of guys robbing you, you think of gambling, you think like Wall Street doesn't have a positive connotation. Usually people go to the negative.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's a problem. So
Yeah.
my primarily my investment advice is in investments on Wall Street, right? It's in the stock
Yeah.
market. And I would say you can use the stock market without being used by the stock market.
Yeah.
But that's not easy to do. And so when you talk about what sets me apart, the difference between traditional investing is, hey, which companies can be great, what stocks can be the next best thing, how can I make the biggest, most ridiculous returns, how
Yeah.
can I mitigate disasters, timing, whether it's a presidential election, whether it's wars
Mm.
anywhere, whether it's pandemics, all of these things are affecting markets. And so, hey, when should we get in? When should we get out? People who claim to know the future, we call them fortune tellers, not investment advisors.
That's
And
right.
unfortunately, a lot of the investment advisors pretend to know the future, and they will tell you what you should and shouldn't do based on a prediction. If your investment's is based on a prediction, well, you're just gambling. And this
Mhm.
is why we've got this idea that Wall Street is gambling, because a lot of it is. So
Yeah.
what sets me apart is, how does the market work? Where do returns come from? And we do this through an academic approach that many people just don't know or understand. So I love to meet with people to make complex ideas really seem simple to understand them. And as you understand, if you understand what your investment's doing, why it's doing what it's doing, how it's going to change, why it's going to change, this really takes so much of the fear and anxiety out of the investment process. That's what I can do well for my clients. It's what I love to do. And all of a sudden, you can be a much, much better investor because you don't have the same fear. You have a much greater understanding and knowledge of how markets work. You've eliminated the speculations and gamblings around the investment process. And all of a sudden, investing can be a lot more of a peaceful experience while still getting great returns, increasing wealth over time. And that's not, it's what everybody would want from an advisor, but it's not what most people are getting from their advisor. That's what I would
Yeah.
say sets me apart. And it's a little bit of what I do. And in the conversation, probably you've already picked up, this is what gets me excited. So this is the whys also.
Yeah, yeah. What brought you into was it a did you feel the call? Did you like cuz you're also a Christian and you definitely are a follower of Jesus and so I mean, you I know you have an incredible relationship, but like, when we talk about living out our purpose and you know, how'd you get here? And then we'll talk a little bit more. I want a follow-up question on what you actually help people understand about their investments, but we'll get there.
Yes, absolutely a follower of Christ, somebody who hopes to live in a way that is displaying Christ in everything I do.
Yeah.
And at the same time, as a good Christian, you'd hope that all things were that audible voice from the Lord that sent me out into being an investment advisor, and that's what we would hope life works, and yet that's not always how it goes. I went, it's interesting. I was this kind of goes a long way back. I was raised in a Christian family. I was homeschooled. Post high school, my girlfriend at the time, we had been dating for 2 years, went to Michigan State University, and I became a framer. I was building homes. This was in the greater Detroit area.
Wow.
And so as I'm telling the story, the underlying theme is God's providence.
Mm.
I so I'm dating this girl. I'm framing homes, and I like manual labor. I liked building and making good money, especially at 18, and thinking, hey, I can build homes and be a contractor one day. And well, then I'm over at my girlfriend's house. Her name was Carlin, and her dad, we'd been dating for 2 years. So the idea of marriage wasn't necessarily on the table at 18, but it's a conversation anyways.
Yeah.
And he said to me, anyone who marries one of my daughters, requirement that I have is that they have a degree. Well, this put me in a real pickle. The one of the guys to marry one of his daughters, he had three daughters. The other two were already married. So essentially, he was saying, if you want to marry my daughter, you have to get a degree.
Right.
And I was like, well, I
Yeah.
don't need a college degree to build homes. And I like what I'm doing, but I kind of like this girl and I think this might be the future. And so I concocted a plan. How do I get a degree? And I didn't have that specific direction or calling.
Yes.
My dad was an air traffic controller. He had been a controller for, he retired after 33 years at Detroit Metro Airport. So I thought, hey, you know what? Why don't I just be a controller like my dad and
Yeah.
I'll get a degree in aviation? So I headed off to Southern California, got a degree in aviation science. I enjoyed it. And all of a sudden, what I didn't know I had was a passion for aviation. And so all of a sudden, I get hired as a controller. I did that for 10 years. And it was fantastic. Moved around the country a little bit, was out in California, had some kids, married Carlin. So the
Yeah.
degree was not in vain. And we've been married for a little over 15 years now. And we've got
Wow.
5 kids with one on the way. So we're,
Wow.
we're very excited about that. Um, the degree was worth it, regardless of what it,
Yeah,
if it
you got
got
a
me
degree you got a
her.
degree that got you a whole lot of value. Yes.
That's right. So,
I love
um,
it.
So I did 10 years as a controller. I was out in Northern California. We wanted to
Yeah.
move back to this side of the Mississippi. Now, um, we had been from Detroit, but in warm weather long enough, we did not want to go back to Detroit.
Yeah.
And one of my
You learned
closest
something.
friends
You learned something in school. You got smart. You got smart.
I learned something, and that is snow is cold,
That's
and I
right.
don't like it.
That's right. Exactly.
So
Smart man.
that's right. we
Mm,
um we ended up going, I was looking at, applying to major airports, found a air traffic facility here in Peachtree City, and was able to transfer here, and it was fantastic. When I
yeah.
got here, um you know it was I was frustrated with a lot of things. COVID had just been in
Mm,
effect, and the layers of frustrations were when you work for the federal government, when you're a part of the union, and when you work with, very type A
mm,
individuals.
mm,
Air traffic controllers are very my way or the highway, strong willed, and
mhm.
I look at them and go, wow, they're terrible, and yet I am one of them, so I have to be careful.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
just had enough, and I thought, I don't want to work in this for 15 more years. But I didn't have direction. I didn't have, well, I've got this degree in my pocket, or I've got all these other skills. Um, so I was on a vacation with one of my very closest friends. He started Cornerstone Wealth Partners back in 2008,
Yeah.
and we were in Hilton Head together, and I just told him, I am I'm done. I'm so tired. I don't want to do 15 more years of this.
Mm,
I don't I just said, if I could do anything else, I think I would.
yeah.
And he just looked at me, he goes, Josh, I've been waiting for you to come over for 15 years. And
That's
so
cool.
I said, yeah, but I said I would do anything, but not at the risk of moving back to Detroit.
Yeah.
And he said, no, we can, with COVID, we're implementing all of these Zoom procedures and things, and the whole world's getting connected like it's never been before. And so we can open up a branch in Georgia for you. And
Cool.
so I would love to say I had a passion for finance. I had a passion for money management, and that's what it went. I had a passion to not be an air traffic controller anymore. And usually, like, the story that I would love to tell is that this is where I was going and I got to my goals,
Yeah.
but I didn't have a passion for aviation, and yet in God's providence, I went to school for aviation and I absolutely loved it. It was the external factors that drove me away from it,
Yeah.
but I still love aviation. But then as I'm getting driven away from it, I'm having a conversation with a good friend who says, "Hey, do this instead." And I'm sitting here like, "Well, I would do anything, so okay, fine, I'll do it." And just like aviation, what I found was that what I remembered is in all of my air traffic classes in college, all of the economics of aviation and the business development, I took a lot of those in the airline industries. I loved those classes.
Yeah.
Nobody told me that I was going to use those classes for economics, with investments and other things.
Yeah.
So that's where
But God knew
that's what I'm saying is in
He
God's
was preparing
providence,
you. Yeah.
I now am, training and learning how to be an investment advisor. And I'm like, I love this. This is exactly what I was made for,
Yeah.
even more so than air traffic control. So that's
That is
the
so cool. And
that's
you are
how I got here.
and you are totally incredible at it. You are an incredible teacher. And so let's go to the next question that I was going to ask you, that follow-up question from before. What sets you apart is that you said in essence, you said I take complex issues or a complex concepts around money and investments and make them simple and understandable for people, for the consumer, for the individual. And that's exactly what you do. And you lay it out and you make it so easy and so clear. And it makes so much sense. And so share a little bit about the education process, because actually you're an investment advisor, but an investment coach. You're a financial coach. You really coach people through the process of yes, you're advising and managing investments, but you're also coaching people through the process of understanding what you're doing with their money. And so share just a little bit about like what that's about.
There's three different categories.
Yeah.
There's the teacher, right? A teacher
Yeah.
just tells you the information, which is so necessary.
Yeah.
Um, and then there's the advisor, right? The category that legally I'm under, and that's I tell you what the best things to do are, which is very helpful. But the coaching element, I will tell people all day long, I can build you the best portfolio. I can show you the very best way to do it. And yet, by randomness and luck, there's always something out there that's better. There's always something better, right?
Yeah.
And so the best investments today, it's like you buy your home, and
Yeah.
this home, goes up in value. Over the last couple of years, homes have been going up in value significantly. So
Yeah.
let's just say this home goes up in value 10%. But if you'd bought that home went up 11%. And you're like, oh man, if I had only bought, I knew that home would have just done better. Well,
Yeah.
maybe in a 1 year time frame, but overall, this fits your family better. This is actually in the long run what's going to be better. So what happens is people know information,
Yeah.
and people know what they should do, but your emotions drive the decisions. Knowledge doesn't dictate actions. Belief dictates actions.
Yeah.
I can tell you all day. Um,
Yeah.
it's a silly example. I can tell you that right now there's a missile coming and it's going to hit my house. Right.
Yeah.
I could know that could be true, and it's going to be here in 10 minutes. Well,
Yeah.
I might leave, I might not. If I kind of am thinking maybe that's probably not going to happen, I'm not going to do anything.
Yeah.
And if I believe absolutely 100% my house is going to be wiped out in the next 10 minutes,
Yeah.
I will be running for the door. My kids are going to be with me. I mean, running as fast as I can. If I believe it to be true, my actions will definitely correlate with it. And when it comes to investing, it's remarkable how we divorce the two things. We say, I know what I should do, but I do this for a living. And I've worked with so many people who do the opposite of what you should do. I know this is right, but I feel like I
Yeah.
believe. And so the coaching element comes into where if I can effectively coach you through, let me help you understand why you believe the way you do. Let me help you understand why this is going against all of your instincts. Our
Mhm.
instincts, you say, trust your instincts. That's a terrible idea when it comes to investing. Don't trust your instincts.
Yeah.
But knowledge doesn't do it either. You need to have somebody coaching you through this process of what to
Mm.
do, how to do it. And I'm saving you from your own instincts, because by nature, we're instinctual creatures, but instincts are more based on fear, more based on greed, fear of missing out. Like our
Mhm.
biases just absolutely dictate who we are, and it should be knowledge, and we think it's knowledge, but it very rarely is. So
Right.
coaching people is a massive element in
Yeah.
what I do for sure.
And now you're speaking my language because, well, and then here's and I actually say the opposite. As I'm coaching people in business, I say trust your instincts. But the key that you're bringing up today is I help them learn to trust their instincts, their real instincts, not their instincts that are clouded by fear or fear of missing out, but most of the, reactionary. But most of the time, we're so dysregulated and we're so disconnected from ourselves and from what really is going on, we are in reactionary mode and we think it's our instinct.
Yeah,
And so,
that
or
that's
we're
the
doing it based
distinction.
upon the wrong thing. But what you're saying is when you don't have someone who is like really getting to the heart and the psychology at the deeper level, really helping them understand what their instincts are telling them, which is what I do in say for instance in their business, and really helping them learn how to trust their instincts. But that's a process that you know that you're talking about a whole different story here with money, and people are going to have emotional reactions with
Yeah,
money. Of
yeah,
course they are. And so you're right that it's incredible to be able to be coached through that process too, just like they need to be coached through the strategy and the development and the leading of their business. It's a huge piece that people miss.
yeah. Defining what your instincts or where those things are, that's
Yeah,
the key. You know,
absolutely.
when you are determining that the instincts, when they're coming from your biases, they're not instincts,
That's
right?
exactly right. Yeah.
And so what I'm
Yeah.
saying is don't trust
The,
in your biases, what you think are your instincts.
That's exactly right, and it's
So
so hard to know, and with money, it's almost, you have to be really incredibly self-aware and very connected to, I think, like the Holy Spirit to I mean, you really have to, like, be just super discerning, to not make emotional decisions around money.
instincts should not be rooted in emotions.
That's right.
Biases are rooted in emotions.
Yes,
So it's
exactly.
essentially, don't be
Yeah.
emotional. That's
That's
really
right.
what I'm saying is don't be
That's
emotional.
that's exactly right. You're exactly right. Well, so let's just talk about, like, what do you, other than watching people be emotional with their money, that's a huge piece of what you do, I would imagine, is helping people not be emotional with their decisions around money. Um, what is it that what's the game changer? What do you help them do that, like, changes everything for them? Obviously, if they're not just going on some, knowledge, and they're learning how not to react to emotions, what are you telling them to do? How are you coaching them?
Uh, so, while I just talked about how, knowledge doesn't dictate actions, without knowledge, you've got no
Sure,
basis, right?
absolutely.
And
You
so,
gotta have you
first,
gotta have a wise strategy
yeah.
and have someone who is knowledgeable.
And, I would, I love biblical theology. I
Yeah,
love theology. And what I've seen theology do is save, um, uh, close friends of mine who have been in a season of life that they've not been living in a way that's conducive to what they would say they believe, right? They are
yeah,
really just backsliding. And
yeah,
while they're in that state, the next logical step would be to deny the gospel. They don't, because their foundation in theology is rooted well enough that they cannot deny existence of God. They can't deny his sovereignty. They can't deny the gospel. And because of that foundation really is keeping them from making massive mistakes because intellectually they just can't justify it. They know it's
yeah,
wrong and they're still in that space that they're fighting
yeah,
and they know.
yeah,
And so that's where it's going to start is if I can help you know and understand and the theology of investing and to know where's the downfalls that like I talked about earlier with the forecasting, the predicting, the gambling when it comes to investments, if I can help you see that, well,
yeah.
when you start getting emotional about making a decision here or there, you will intellectually know. I get it. I get people say all the time, Josh, I know what you're gonna say. I know what you're gonna say. It's like, then I'm doing my job right. If
Right.
you know what I'm gonna say, what you know is this is wrong, but my emotions, I want to do that.
Right,
Why?
I
Because
want
I and why do you want to? Because I believe it's gonna be better. Right?
to.
I
Right.
believe it's gonna
Yes.
be better. Even though I know it's not, I believe it will. And
Yes.
so laying that foundation of the knowledge element of where do returns come from? How does the market actually work? And
Yeah.
really teaching how to do it well while showing them how not to do it equally
Yeah.
is putting in that foundation first.
Yeah.
And then the coaching can happen after. And as they say, hey, I'm thinking about doing this, or what do you think about that? I can point back to, remember how we talked about this. Okay.
Yeah.
And then we can say, what is the best case outcome for what you're trying to do? What's the
Yeah.
worst case outcome? And what on principle are you actually doing?
Yeah.
And I can say, if you're actually on principle, you're gambling. Okay. So let's
Yeah.
just establish that right now. This is a gamble. Is this principally what you want to do with your investments?
Right.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
You can look at me and say, "Yeah, I think I want to take the gamble." Make sure your wife's in the room when you
Yeah.
tell me that, because I'll tell you what, you might be getting an elbow. Say what, dear? You're going to just go
Yeah.
ahead and gamble our retirement? I don't think so.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Oh my gosh.
So, and we justify it. That's the other thing. So we justify, hey, I'm just going to, you know what, this is, just
Well,
this little bit. This is my play money, this and
Well,
that.
the
And
other
it's
thing
like,
is we're also trying to. It's like I always, my mom will every now and then I'll say, I think I've just gained a little bit of weight. I've been eating a little too much, and she goes, well, why don't you just go run a little extra? And I'm like, Mom, I can't outrun my spoon. And
yeah.
so what we try to do, and I mean, I laugh when I say it. I'm like, Mom, I used to be able to outrun my fork, my spoon. I
Mhm.
can't do it anymore. Like that's not going to work. I think what we're trying to do is we're trying to outrun our spoon or our fork in our money with our money too. We're trying
Mhm.
to make up for starting late, making bad
Yeah.
decisions, spending issues. We're trying to make up for time lost and not making really good decisions doing that. We're trying to beat a market, or we're trying to beat our own maybe unwise decisions, if that's
Yeah.
a way to say it. And
Well,
that creates emotional decision making
it's
and
never
gambling.
it's never yeah, it's never too late to start making the right decision, but what is terrible is when you make the wrong decision and you're trying to make up for it,
That's it.
unfortunately, there isn't some sort of magic trick that
Yeah.
I can just all of a sudden create more money out of nowhere. It's very mathematical.
Yeah.
How much can you put in? How old are you? What's your time that you can do things?
Yeah.
Look, I got one. Hey, that is my third. That's Olivia.
Oh, sweet. Oh, that's
um,
sweet. I love it.
so
Real life.
so it's more math
Yeah.
than a magic trick. And people
Yeah.
who have gotten who it's what's remarkable is if you suffer huge losses, you think,
Yeah.
hey, how do I make up for these things?
Yeah.
Well, usually when you're trying to make up for them, it's like if you're at the roulette table and you say all on black and
Yeah.
then it hits red, you're like, well, I need that money. So let's double down so we can win it back all on red. And you're
Right.
like, what it should have taught you that what you just did was a terrible decision.
That's right.
But to
Stop.
double down on that bad decision and do it again. But that's what people do with investing. It's absolutely
Yeah.
remarkable. It's like, look,
Yeah.
it's awful that happened. And it happened for 20 and 30 years.
Yeah.
And people
Yes.
are desperate to make that up. Well,
Yes.
I would love to make it up for you,
Yeah.
but not by doing the same things that got you in this spot. But for some reason, that's what our tendencies are. It's amazing.
Yes. Absolutely. I literally had something this year that I'm learning from. We're always growing. I mean, I'm going to bring
Hopeful.
the money investment, the money and investment talk to business owners too in just a second. But I'm just going to share this really quickly. I caught myself this week saying to my business coach, I said, do you know, I sat down with my my CPA this week and did my
Mhm.
taxes. And I'm like, oh my God, looking at my year-end reviews, I'm like, I didn't, you know, he actually, I knew it, but I didn't want to like admit it, but I spent this amount of money on this that produced no returns. I said, that money's gone. It's wasted. Like, I mean, I just wanted to cry myself to sleep, because we're still learning. Like, there are in investing takes money. It takes money to make money. And of course, I'm a risk taker. I'm an investor, and I'm always growing things or trying to grow things and taking calculated risk, obviously. But I didn't, I had an investment this year that did not in the stock market it was an investment in the business that didn't pay off the way that I thought. Well, thank God I caught it really quickly and, didn't lose a ton of money. It was more than I was happy losing, of course, which is, anything, but, when we do that though, it's like, we don't, and she made me, my coach made me sit with the uncomfortableness of that and made me like get really real with myself about the fact that like she didn't just like let me distract myself from that or try to, make up for that in some way. She's like, no, we gotta sit with this. We've got to deal with the reality of this. And mine was just a couple $1,000s. I mean, it was not like huge, but like it tore me up, and I had all kinds of self-talk about it and all kinds of, shame and the fear started and, oh my God, how am I ever gonna, and it just starts a whole line of stuff coming up. And if we don't sit with the mistakes that we've made and not beat ourselves up, but just sit with them, learn from them, and I had to just in that moment give it to the Lord and say, Lord, I quote that verse, you even make my mistakes to prosper. You're going to replenish this and restore what my mistakes have um, have created here. And that's where grace comes in. And I just thank you for that. And, and I appreciate that. And I'm going to make, good decisions from here. But so many times that's so hard to do. I caught myself just doing that with that little amount of money, this week. I know, and I see it with business owners all the time. We keep pouring into things and doing things and making decisions because we don't want to deal with the feelings around the bad decisions that we have made. And so sometimes we just keep pouring into things because that feels more productive, or we double down on things because that feels more productive than actually sitting with the reality of the decision that we made and feeling the grief of that.
Yeah, one of the things that you said that the term that I hate when people say is, don't beat yourself up over that.
Yeah.
And I push back. I'm like, absolutely, you should
Well,
hammer yourself on that. So
yeah.
the two things that I see is people will like, and me included in business, you make a mistake and you're like, okay, I did it, I'm moving on. And you
Yeah.
just and it's good to keep on going. And yet
Yeah.
it's like, well, what happened?
What
Why did that mistake
why
happen?
did I do that?
Yeah. What
Yes.
was the process? What were you thinking?
Really
How?
taking a look at it.
And then all of a sudden it's like, don't beat yourself up, like sit in it. And look what you talked
Yes.
about, the
Yeah.
coach made you feel awful. And you're
She
just,
did.
I've been sitting in that spot where you're like, when is this going to be over? I don't want to
Right.
do this anymore. And this is
Yes.
the beating ourselves up over it. What you don't want to do is wallow, right?
Yes. That's right.
Wallow is when self
That's
pity
right.
shows up.
That's right.
Wallowing is this, it takes you to the
Yeah.
state of depression.
Right.
But beating ourselves up over it, meaning
Yeah.
you sit in the uncomfortable, you
Yeah.
analyze the problems, you work through how, what, why, when, and where,
Yes.
so that it doesn't
Here's what
happen
was
again.
exactly. Here's what was driving that decision. Here's
Yeah.
what I didn't listen to in myself. Here's why I did it for this week longer than I should have. Here's,
Yep.
or a month longer than I should have. Here's why I didn't catch it quicker. All the things that we need to evaluate constantly. And I'm so grateful that as miserable as it was in that 25-minute, 30 minutes or whatever, to do that, I'm so grateful that she did. And I do the same with my clients. It's we've got to analyze it so we can learn from it and really grow from it. Like I won't do that again. Like I
Mhm.
know exactly what that was about for me. And that was actually I see this in business owners a lot. What that was really about for me is I was fearing not having security in one area in the business. I needed to feel secure, and instead of taking the time and letting the process happen and going a little bit slower, I threw money at it, trying to get it to a place where I would feel secure enough. But actually, it did the opposite of what I really wanted, rather than me learning how to feel secure and safe inside my body and not make a dysregulated decision out of needing something to happen faster than than it was happening. And boy, have I learned from that. And I see business owners do this all the time. And so
Yeah.
I love the way you just said that. You reframe that as, yeah, let's sit in it. Let's learn from it and grow from it and really understand it. All right. Speaking of, and did you anything you wanted to say about
No,
that? I don't want to
I
just move
thought
on, but okay.
that was really great. And I
Yeah.
wasn't correcting you in the sense of
Oh no.
it was really that when people say don't beat yourself up over it, what
Yeah.
they're saying is don't wallow, don't
Wallow in it.
self-pity, but
Exactly.
sit in it is what you're describing. A coach had you do, and I've had to sit in it, and it's
Oh my
like,
gosh.
gosh, that usually is where the best work's done.
It is. It
And
is. I mean, I
I hate
grew,
sitting in it.
yes, I grew more from that than, yeah, but it's not comfortable. That is for
I
sure. Uh,
I had a business coach one time. He would always ask, "Hey Josh, can I give you some coaching?" And
yeah.
it was really only the second time by the time I learned he would ask me that, and I would say yes, but please be gentle. It's like I just I want to hear
Yes,
it, but good night. Can you just
that's right. Yeah, give it to me soft, please.
that's
I
right.
know.
I can learn
Oh,
still and not have you
totally. That's
pummel me.
right.
So
That's exactly right. Because we're doing that to ourselves already. That's so funny. Let's get into business for just a little bit. So, what do you see? Why, first of all, like, what do you see with business owners? What are some of these struggles, the challenges that you see? Because you and I talk a lot about, because of what I do and what you do, we work so well together, partnering with business owners. And so, what do you see are the biggest struggles and the biggest challenges with business owners? Not only yes, with their money and their investments, but and what are they not? What are they missing? And then what are the challenges and struggles that you're seeing just in general?
when it comes to investing is if you think about the premise of what I do when it comes to investing,
Yeah,
you're taking money, you're taking your money and you're buying portions of someone else's business. Why?
yeah,
Because business creates value, it creates profits. This is a phenomenal way that you can share in someone else's business ideas and
yeah,
their work passively. So
yeah,
you have a business, you do what you do, but passively you can take the extra and give it to or buy ownership into somebody else's business. And as they grow, this grows your money. This is a great system. And
yeah,
yet, where's the very best return? The best return is in your business.
yeah,
And so business owners, when they have the extra, in the businesses that I invest in, what I want from that business is to take all of their profits and reinvest it in themselves. That's what I want because now the business is going to grow. It's going to be more valuable. If you're not betting on yourself, that kind of worries me. And
yeah,
so let's bring the profits back in and reinvest it and grow that business.
yeah,
You as the independent business owner, is you take the profits, you do want to reinvest in your business. Why? Because that's giving you your greatest return. So, from
mhm,
a where do I get the best return, putting it back in your business, honestly, is what I would encourage you to do. And it
mhm,
cannot be the only thing you do. And so that is probably one of the biggest problems with businesses. Somebody knows how to do what they do and they do it really well. That's
yeah,
fantastic. And the
yeah,
return that they will get is greater than the market as a whole. The problem is as a business owner, if you've not had a bad year, you just haven't been in business long enough. If
yeah,
you haven't had big deals fall through, you haven't been in business very long. If if you haven't
Yeah.
had something go wrong, things go wrong in business. This is a problem, right?
Yeah.
We, as a business owner, what we don't do is we take those negatives and quantify it in the business as a whole to actually give a true return. But what happens is we throw so much in our own business, we're really putting all our eggs in one basket. You've heard diversification, you've heard these concepts that are good. And yet, as a business owner, you're like, yeah, but this is what I know, this is what I've done, and this is the results that it's given me. The problem is that is all true. You need to throw some other things in more than one pot, more than one basket, because there will be a day that it's going to bite you in the butt. And you can actually use your other investments to leverage off of each other. You've seen, depending on what kind of business, if you were to buy another business similar to yours, acquire their products, acquire their customers, acquire anything that they have of value, that is a massive increase in your business. Well, what do you have to do to have that? You have to have a lot of cash to be able to buy someone else's business. You can do that in investments also. There's a lot of strategies around business that you can leverage the market off of. You can leverage taxes off of if you don't have everything in one business. Now, I'm not suggesting that your business is about to fail, but if it does, you've lost your revenue, you've lost your investments, you've lost everything at this point. And if you've diversified, not everything, the majority can go back in your business. But for tax sake and for opportunity's sake, get more than just what's in your business. And when you say, I don't have time and this is what I know,
Yeah.
this is why you pay me to do what I do, is
Exactly.
to do the thing that you don't have time for and to invest in things that you don't understand as well.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
that's the investment piece in general. I could take it 100 different ways. And I
Yeah.
would say this is what you're better at than I am.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
see, you see it as the general more than I do.
It's people. I see people so many times playing not to lose rather than playing to win.
Mm,
And like you said, and people not knowing how to invest in their business. What do I invest in? What is going to be most profitable? What's going to be productive to invest in? And and obviously I'm not perfect because I just shared something a few minutes ago that I had made a mistake on, but I know what that was about now. But yeah, and it is important to do both. It's important to invest back into your business, and it's important to invest outside of your business. And let's talk about tax, the tax liabilities and everything. So how do you help business owners with that piece?
At the end of the day, what I will tell any and all business owners is you
Yeah.
need a good tax professional. You need a phenomenal CPA, not one who just knows how the rules to keep you out of trouble,
Yeah.
but how to leverage the rules. The tax code is complicated.
Yeah.
And the ones who know it well, it's not gray, it's black and white. You can
Yeah.
look at the tax code and do what you need to do
Yeah.
completely legally and leverage your business to work within the tax code in a way that only a very, very good CPA can do it. And so,
Yeah.
what I would argue is as soon as you get into the jack of all trades industry, you just get a bad product. And so
Mhm.
I would say get the best CPA, get the best estate planning attorney
Yeah.
for succession planning and other things. Make sure your family's set up and make sure you get the best investment advisor. Those
Yeah.
three people, you need to connect. You need to
They
have those people
absolutely.
talking to each other, making sure that if the left hand doesn't know what the right hand is doing, this is a problem.
That's exactly.
And all
Yeah.
three of those individuals would be happy to talk to each other on your behalf to know, are we doing the right things in the best way? If I've got a great investment strategy, how that strategy is implemented is what a CPA can tell me based on your tax situation, things that I
Yes.
don't know, and based on a tax code that changes, you know, at least every 12 months and
Yes.
more.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. That's great advice. That is
Taxes
incredible.
taxes are extremely important, and in my world, often what happens is people will try to put a tax strategy ahead of an investment plan. And investment
Mm,
philosophy is how to grow is the very best way. That's number one. And then we talk to a CPA and take the best way to grow our money and do it in the most tax efficient way. If we try to build a tax plan and then within what the best tax plan, we try to fit investments through it, it's a backwards way of doing it.
I'm glad you covered that because I was just about to ask about that. How do you know how to do both? And like and is there any more you wanted to say about that? Yeah,
The common there's the old saying, "Don't let the tail wag the dog,"
yeah,
right? We'll just
yeah.
say, "Don't let the tax tail wag the investment dog,"
Mm,
right? The
yeah,
the the dog is that's the one who should be driving this thing, and
yeah,
then how do we make the taxes around it just the most efficient, best way? And we can generally tell you, and if you make 100,000 or 10 million a year, that
yeah,
tax strategy is going to be wildly different.
yeah.
And so knowing that and being connected with the CPA is the most important way to go about it.
Absolutely. That's great advice. I'm so glad you shared that. You have 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay, I want to ask you like two more issues, and there's just so much that we could cover. If there's if there are like say, and it can be around money, investments, it can be around anything else in business that you want. But what is it in what is it that you if you could sit down in front of the business owners that you see, what else would you want them to know? Like, what is it that you're hearing so often that you find yourself saying to them that you want every business owner out there to know? Again, either about their investments or just about running their business and leading their business in general. I know that's a hard question.
It's which direction to go with it. I tend to say some people are driven or directed by fear.
Mm,
I will do or won't do because what if, and I'm
yeah,
scared of this happening.
yeah.
And you just don't want to be there. But the opposite is just as harmful if you're a head in the sand business owner where you
There you
just keep
go.
on running without looking around.
Yeah,
It's like you've got wolves chomping at your heels, but you just keep your head in the sand, assuming that nothing's wrong,
yeah.
and that's equally as dangerous and damaging.
That's so true.
And the ones, in this is so true, this people who own or run businesses, they have no time. How many
That's right.
times I know it's true, and yet I say I don't have time. I don't have time. We have time. We just don't. It's just not a priority for
That's
us.
exactly. We decide if it's a priority or if it's not.
Yeah,
And the other thing is we have to understand that money buys time.
I mean, time is the most valuable thing that you have, and the things that you are allocating to just increase money but not increase time,
Yes,
that's not a good strategy
that's it. That's
because
it.
that's the rhythm that you get in. You will always pursue something that will make you more money over
That's
and
right.
over and over, thinking that the time byproduct will show up, but it won't because you're just gonna find something else that will make you more money.
Exactly.
If you find something that makes you more money and buys you more time,
That's it.
that it's all around us,
Yep.
and yet we it might not be as much money or something in between. And so it's a frustrating place for me when I talk to a business owner and it's I don't have time, I'm too busy, yada yada
That's it.
yada. It's like,
Mm.
man, you've got to, it's not about, I get frustrated when someone says to me, um, you need to not run as hard. You need to, sacrifice returns. Like I want to make, I do this to make money. I run a business to make as much money as I can make the business run for me. And sometimes
Absolutely.
I tend to think, oh, if you tell me to slow down, that means I will have less money. That doesn't have to be true.
Right.
Don't tell me to slow down. I don't need it.
Right.
I'm young. This is the point in time that I've got the energy and I need to build something.
Yeah.
Usually the guys who are saying slow down, you don't need it all, are have already done it.
That's right.
And so it's good to know that I don't always have to run as fast, but it's also really good to know that I can start prioritizing things that will make me the same amount of money and reduce how much time I have to spend doing those things.
That's
And the more time I
exactly.
have spending doing those things, I can continue to make all things better, which
That's right.
gives me even more time. It's incredible. So
That's right.
putting that
It's
priority on,
leveraging time
yeah, not leveraging time at the expense of
at the
profits.
expense of profits. That's
That doesn't
exactly.
have to be the case.
Yes. Oh, I love that. That's so good. Those 2 points. And is there a third? And if there's not, that's okay. Maybe those are 2 home run points. So if that's all you got, that's enough. Is there another one? Is there another one that comes up?
I mean, I'd have to stop and sit in it for a second because at this point, I'm
That's
like,
okay.
I don't know what I just said 5 minutes ago. I'm starting to get tired.
Those 2.
It's 4 o'clock on a Friday,
I
Connie. What are you
know,
doing
I
to me?
know. What did you agree to here? Oh my goodness. It's
uh,
no, but you're right. That you just brought up though the crux of most of entrepreneurs' issues. I want to ask you one more question and then we'll be done. I want to hear about how, as a Christian business owner, you run your business, you lead your business differently than how does a kingdom business run in your eyes versus if you didn't run your business um fueled by your faith?
it's a
How does
great
that
question.
impact?
I mean, I would love to sit in this question for a long, long time.
Yeah.
What you do is important.
Yeah.
I'm in the Bible talks more about money than almost any other topic.
Yeah.
And so when I think about what I do practically from a stewardship perspective, is the investments that I'm doing, God honoring. This is important. It's important that I'm praying. It's important that I've
Yeah.
got a beautiful poster in my office that's Psalm 23. It's one of my favorite Psalms.
Yeah.
And these are the quote bumper stickers on the business. There's value there, and I don't want to knock that. What has more value is, how am I in everything I do? Am I not ashamed of the gospel? And am I a city on a hill? Am I somebody who is
Mm,
absolutely radiant, bright, shining Christ in my conversations with them? How? Not just that I'm preaching Christ, but that I'm actually caring for people, that I'm
mhm.
actually putting people above myself, above
Yeah.
profits. Am I listening and caring and being still with people,
Yeah.
giving them the time that they need? Am I at the expense of personal gain and profits?
Yeah.
Am I loving people the way Christ loved us?
Mm,
Am I looking at how to display Christ in all of his attributes to my staff, to my clients, to my coworkers, my colleagues, in my office? I mean, is
yeah.
the excellence of Christ prevalent in everything that I do? And is everything I do for his sake and for his glory? If what I do, it's very easy to jump into the boat of, no, I'm providing for my family and God calls us to provide. That's true. And if my business is to glorify him and I allow him to provide for my family, that's how it's supposed to go.
Yeah.
God provides for me and my family, not me providing for my family. Now I
Yeah.
need to be diligent in the way he's called me to be diligent. And I
That's
work
beautiful.
hard
Sure.
unto him and for his glory alone. So it's really a how does Christ permeate everything that I do in every way through everything that I do? That's the focus. And I will be the first to admit it. Very often it's about getting that next big client. It's about landing that big deal. It's about, increasing profitability, reducing expenses, looking at cash flows and revenue. I mean, I do business. This is what I do.
Yeah.
And this is why if I don't get up in the morning and spend some time reading and praying and saying, all of this is from you, I'm
That's
going to
right.
work as hard as I can, and I'm going to tithe. I'm going to give back as a way to continue to say, as a recognition that this isn't mine. You've
That's
asked
right.
me for 10%. I'm going to give you 10 as a way to say, you've given me 100%.
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
is all yours. And I
Yeah.
want to give my first 10 back to you.
That's right.
Just the little things that I can look for. And I will ask, my assistant is a good example. And I've done this a few times. And I've said, if there's anything that's inconsistent, you're the one seeing it. You see
Yeah.
where I'm being hypocritical.
Yeah.
I am very hypocritical. Why?
Yeah.
Because I'm a sinner. As
You're
I know
human.
I'm a sinner in need
You're
of
human.
grace that pushes me to
Yeah.
Christ even more.
Yeah.
And yet that's not right. And so please tell me, show me where
Yeah.
am I pretending, where am I being hypocritical, and continue to work and press into those spots
That's it.
so that I can not raise myself up, but raise Christ up.
I love that. Oh, that's so, and that is the way you live. And it's so incredible to watch. And it's just,
It's
when
the way that I live when I'm not being hypocritical.
that's right. Well, it's the way we're all living when we're not being hypocritical, when we're not, yeah, but our humanness gets in the way, doesn't it? All the time. And thank
It's
God for grace.
amazing.
Thank
It's
God for grace.
no doubt about it.
I love it. Well, I appreciate you so much taking the time. Is there anything in closing that you just hadn't felt like you haven't gotten to share that you wanted to that I didn't ask you?
The only
Um,
thing that's come to mind just in
yeah,
business, and this is really good for like the more broader range
yeah,
of from small businesses to large.
yeah.
And I think you and I were talking about this recently, and this was this idea that just the huge difference between what working for yourself versus being a business owner is.
Self-employed versus an entrepreneur. Yes.
Yeah. I've just encountered a lot of people who haven't even understood or worked through that concept.
Yeah.
Neither one is right. There's not one that is,
Yeah.
oh, well, that's who you should be and that's valuable.
Right.
But understanding the difference, and as I've worked with different people who are business owners, one that is just working, just driven by a working for yourself versus somebody who is building and managing a business,
Mhm.
understanding what the differences are there and working through them. And I would say anybody who may be listening to actually lean into talking to you about these things,
Mm.
because there's a totally different mindset and decision making method to have the more time, more peace, more profitability, more just general success. If you have a better understanding of which lane you're in,
Mm,
and commingling those two things, I think, is a very common mistake.
absolutely.
More so for the small business owner that thinks of themselves as that entrepreneur, but is acting as somebody who is self employed.
Self-employed. Right.
And being self employed is a great thing. There's nothing wrong with it. Just know that that's the path that you're on and operate within that path.
Right.
And if you're mistakenly on that path, know how to get off of it to go with the entrepreneur. And the opposite, it can be the same. You keep driving to these things, and you really were made and designed more to be somebody who is, put your head down and run down the road as somebody who's self-employed. So it's
Yeah.
really just a conversation that I've been having recently that's been on my
Mm,
mind a lot. And I think that
yeah.
you would be extremely valuable in understanding those two categories well,
Yeah.
seeing which way you fit, not which one you'd prefer, but really how were you made and how you run your business
Exactly.
could be or just a big benefit. So that was really
Absolutely.
another thing that was on my mind, just in business in general.
There's number 3. That was it. And I'd say I would say those are the 3 of the biggest conversations that I have with business owners. And so I'm so glad you brought all those up. So I appreciate you saying that. Well, we will close out today and I will let you go enjoy your weekend. And I really, really appreciate your insight. And last thing, how do they, um, if they want to learn more about you or connect with you, how do they do that?
It's not hard to find people these days.
That's
You know,
right.
Cornerstone Wealth Partners, I've got my office here in Peachtree City. Google it,
Yeah.
Google Maps it. I'm right here. Give me a call. My number's on the website. And
Yeah.
I'd be happy to have a quick conversation with you on the phone, see what you're thinking through, what you're working through.
Yeah.
And then we can set up a time to sit down and talk in detail if it seems like it's best for you.
I love it. Thank you so much, Josh. I really appreciate it. And just appreciate who you are and all that you do and all the wisdom that you shared today. So, all right, you guys. Well, I hope this was another inspiring and encouraging and empowering message for you. I hope you don't try to don't try to take it all and change it all. Take 2 or 3 things, 2 or 3 ahas. What stuck with you is what you needed to hear. And so, yes, take those things and let's make little shifts. Let's take action if we need to. Don't keep doing something that is not getting you to closer to where you want to be. And I am so grateful that you joined us for today. And I hope that if it did inspire you, that you will share this with someone that you love or someone that you know it will make an impact in their life. And I just appreciate you guys. Love you all and hope you just have a great rest of the day wherever you are in your day. And we will see you right back here on the next episode. Thanks, guys. See you soon. Thanks for joining me today on the Free to Soar podcast, where we empower and equip you to lead the business and the life of your dreams with freedom, impact, enjoyment, and abundance. I look forward to our next episode together, and I invite you to subscribe to be notified of new episodes as they are released. Please share this or your favorite episode with a friend or a loved one, and I'd love it if you'd leave a review on iTunes and Spotify.